Did it ever occur to you that, I don't want to, this isn't a good lifestyle? Did it ever cross your mind that maybe I shouldn't be doing these kinds of things?
Honestly, once I got in, most kids have dreams of being firefighters, policemen, lawyers, news ladies. My hopes and dreams were to become the top dog where I wouldn't have to do that stuff no more. I would have my people doing it for me. And, that was my dream. And I started moving closer to it when, I started working for that family in Mexico, and they took a liking to me, and I started moving up the ranks. So life started changing. I didn't have to do all that stuff no more.
Okay. So what were you doing at that point?
Just making money, and I had guys that were doing it for me because I had enough money to pay them. I had enough money. I mean, I even had a bodyguard at that time. So, like I say, the rush is something that I don't know how to explain it, but when you walk into a nightclub and you're, with your bodyguard and you're wearing a chain that's 100 grand on you, and you have your chinchilla coat, and everybody knows who you are, and you're walking in. I mean, I guess that's how a football player feels when they call his name and he walks into the stadium. So the rush is, I mean, I don't know how to explain it. It's crazy.
It's addictive.
Yes.
So how did you go from that rush to the first time that you got in trouble with the law?
Well, I mean, I started going to prison at a very young age. They were mostly overnights, where they lock you in the whatever division it is. In Chicago, that's how it is. They have like little mini police stations in every area, every district, and they lock you in there for overnight for like mob action or criminal behavior or just all the smaller petty stuff. And you spend a night in there or 2 nights, and I started getting used to like spending the weekends there. And, I graduated into 6 months. 6 months. My first gun case, it was an awful use of a weapon. I was discharging a weapon. I was shooting at somebody, and I got caught. The police caught me. I got probation, 2 years. Then I got caught again, unlawful use of a weapon. Fell in possession of a weapon this time, and I ended up doing 6 months. Then I got caught again, and that time was a year. I ended up getting sent to the gang program that they have in Chicago, where if you complete the program, you're out in 6 months, even if you have a 7-year sentence. So I got there, and it was infested with gang members. Like, everybody was gangbanging as soon as you walk in. It was crazy. I was like, this is a joke. Mm-hmm. It's funny because like I always knew that I wasn't a bad person, deep down inside. I always knew that because I felt bad after I would do some things. I felt bad, and I knew deep down inside that I wasn't a bad person. There's some bad people. I've been around some people that do some really bad shit, and then they're just eating a piece of pizza like nothing. And I just knew that I wasn't them. So I guess you could say I always wanted to change. I just didn't know how.
So, I mean, I hear you. I think that when you lack certain things growing up when you lack structure and love and all these other things that supposedly a family provides. You look, as you said, you look for it in other places. But it sounds like you had a good base. Somehow, some way, good things did stick to you.
That's what my psychiatrist said when I was young. She said that, sometimes flowers do grow through the concrete. That she was surprised at the heart that I had, even for the trauma. And a lot of people don't, I haven't shared too much about the abuse and the trauma as a child that I experienced, but with her, it was, open. I had to be very open with her. And she pretty much said I had pretty much all the red flags for, to either go that route or just be a really bad person. But she was very, I guess, surprised of my heart and how I was.
Well,
So.
but even all of that, you still went through. You still went through the system, right?
Yes.
So walk us through that time. You were in, you were out. What was the longest stretch of time? What was it like being inside?
Well, I went to prison in the United States first, then I went to prison in Mexico. Mexico by far was the worst prison I ever set foot on. A lot of violence, a lot of stabbings, people getting hung. Child molesters that would go in there, they would like tear them apart just like hyenas. The whole prison was just ran by families. It was a very, very violent prison. And I remember when we got transferred and I looked back on the jet, they had all the Americans in there that were flying over to the United States. They had an American exchange program back then. And I looked back and I seen the faces on all the Americans that were on that plane. And I just said to myself, thank God. Thank God. To myself, I said, thank God that I was young and in my prime violence. Because I seen some of those guys on that plane and they looked fucked up. Their facial, you could tell. You could tell that what they seen, people don't realize that, and back then I don't even think they called it PTSD, because when we got to the federal prison in El Paso, Texas, they sat us down in a room and they started showing us film of Vietnam vets that came back after they got to La Tuna. They started showing us film of Vietnam vets that were exposed to a lot of death and all that stuff. And like I said, they didn't call it PTSD back then. And my criminal mind lit up right away, and I was like, oh, these motherfuckers think that we're crazy. And half of us were crazy in that room, but my criminal mind kicked in and I raised up my hand and they're like, tell us what's the matter, Mr. Almanza? Do you want to speak in the room? And I'm like, yes, I want to speak in the room. And, I got stabbed in Mexico for my shoes. So it was on paperwork that I got stabbed. So I went into the room and I started crying and I was like, I got beat over there. I got, abused, all this stuff. And, they actually gave us time off our sentence for pain and suffering. All those guys are in that room, but the funny part is that nobody in that room got up or said anything because that's how fucked up they were. They were just walking zombies. They had seen too much, because I'm not gonna lie, they're fucking vicious over there in those prisons. There is no control, no nothing. You have murderers, rapists, you have You just have the worst of the worst, and there's so many. They're just looking for victims, and there's so much violence that it's just fucking crazy. It could ruin you. But I'm fucking, like I said, I was lucky.
What do you think, though, what do you think being in that kind of an environment does to a person?
Oh, it changes you. It changes you. You either become a wolf or you become a victim. It makes you into a violent, mean motherfucker. It's the only way you can survive.
So the medicine is worse than the illness?
Yeah. And honestly, like, that's the only way you're gonna make it. You won't. So when I got to American prisons, I mean, honestly, they were a walk in the fucking park. They were 5-star hotels for me. You know,